Okay, are y'all ready? Oh, Miss Charles. Let's get back. Y'all ready? Okay. Okay, everybody ready? Ready to go? Good evening and welcome to the Leon Valley City Council meeting. Today's Tuesday, August 20th, 2019. It's approximately 6 p.m. We do have a quorum, and I've asked the Audie L. Murphy post number 336 members who are here this evening to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you will please stand. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor, over here, Crystal. Oh. I just wanted to let you know the city manager's FaceTimed in.
Oh, she's FaceTimed in. All right, very good.
And
thank you.
Mayor, point of privilege, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to, with the consensus of council, move 8.3 to the item ahead of 2, so that the council person, if approved, to be nominated, can participate in the meeting. And I'd also like to move 8.2 after 8.3 because it has a major bearing on participation at the meetings.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes.
point of order.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that person who's nominated have to be sworn in before they can?
They will be sworn in when they're selected by Ms. Pasolé.
I don't believe that's allowed.
It's not noted on the agenda.
Yes, it's action. Action allows it.
We're
Discussion
talking
and
about
action.
8.3.
Filling a vacancy.
I was reading it as they would be sworn in at the next meeting. So go ahead.
Well, it says that. Thank you, Mayor and Council. On 8.3, it does state that it's a discussion and action. So whatever action you decide to take, whether you vote them in, I don't know whether or not Ms. Pasolé would swear them in today or whether it would be at the next council meeting. I'm not sure on that point of order.
I got clearance, if I may, from the prior attorney, since it was involved in what he was doing. Ryan Henry. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll concede to his advice.
Thank you very much. Is that agreeable, or do I need to make a motion?
I'm not sure what, you want 8.3 where?
Right now, and then 8.2 to follow it before we do the presentations.
All right. Any objections?
I object. I think that it's something that should be put on the agenda for a future council meeting, that we're going to have a new counselor sworn in. And I'm not sure of the legality of Ms. Pasolay, no offense, swearing in a counselor.
Okay.
I do swear in all counselors.
Okay.
So
I was sworn in by a judge.
By a judge, yeah, that's right. We usually have a judge swear in the
you
counselors.
were also
You were sworn in my office. The one we do in here is just ceremonial.
So I'd like to move that we do it to move 8.3 right now, and then 8.2 to follow.
I second.
All right. We have a motion by Counselor Alcacer and a second by Counselor Charles to move 8.3 and 8.2 at the very beginning of the agenda in front of presentations. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
The motion carries 3 ayes and 1 nay. All right. Then moving to regular agenda 8.3, discussion and action regarding a filling a vacancy for place 4 on the city council created by Benny Martinez, forfeiture of office. Ms. Pasolay? It says your name, so.
Mayor and council, I just simply put the item on the agenda as requested.
All right, so,
We've been through a lot of trauma and drama, and this is the second part of required by the charter, and there's been a lot of speculation, and I think a few people will lose any bets they may have made. But anyway, there's the person that I'd like to nominate would also, or I'd like to appoint, would also like to speak after and ask questions by council if necessary. But it's a long-term resident, has participated in many things, has been very active for many years, is a member of, or has been, of various committees. And I'd like to appoint Matthew Hody to fill place number 4 until the election next year.
I second.
all right, we have a motion by Counselor Alcacer, and we have a second by Counselor Charles to appoint Matthew
Mayor.
Hody. Yes.
Can I
Yes,
discuss?
and this is discussion right now, and I believe we have a Mr. Blackmore that wanted to say something.
There are a couple issues I find with this motion. First of all, I do not believe that the 312 procedures were followed correctly by removing Councilor Martinez from his seat. Actually, I should clarify, not that the 312 procedures were followed, but per our charter, it says that, I'm trying to find the exact spot for quote it. I think it's 3.08. Okay, so 3.12 B, hearing procedures and forfeitures of office. Number 11 says, in the case of violation of Section 309 of the Charter, the City Council may, on the affirmative vote of a majority of the City Council, take any action it determines to be appropriate, including but not limited to directing further investigation, requesting further information, vote on enforce a penalty pursuant to Section 7.13 of this chapter, vote to bring an action in municipal court, take a vote of censure, or upon the affirmative vote of 2/3 of City Council, declare the office of said office holder to be forfeit and vacant. That did not happen. We did not have 2/3 of the City Council vote on that forfeiture. And it does not say in the charter. The charter supersedes, as Mr. Henry said many times, supersedes the 312 procedures. And that's what the charter says. 2/3 of the council, not of those that may deliberate and vote. And furthermore, the 312 procedure itself says that those that are not on, that cannot be on the dais, their vote shall be counted as abstaining. So
Okay.
if you have 2 voted, 1 voted against, and 2 abstained, that's not 2/3 of the council per the charter.
Okay. So noted. Anything else? Mr. Blackmore, go ahead, please, sir.
Can we first hear, Mayor, from Mr. Hody?
I don't see him in the, oh, there he is. He's right in front of me. Okay. I kept looking for you, Mr. Hody, and I couldn't find you. Okay. Mr. Blackmore, Ms. Alcacer would like him to come first, if you don't mind, or
All right.
is that all right? That she's requesting that. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Council,
Welcome.
staff, citizens, and visitors. I don't mind telling you that my stomach is in a knot right now. This is extremely uncomfortable for me. I've always operated kind of behind the scenes, as most of you know, and maybe some of you don't even know who I am. So forgive my nervousness during this time. First off, I wanted to say it's an honor, and I'm flattered to be considered for the Place 4 council seat in Leon Valley. My wife, daughter, and I have lived in Leon Valley since 1995. We have participated in council meetings, coffees with the mayor, annual town halls, Earthwise Living Day, the Leon Valley Neighborhood Renewal Program, the 4th of July celebrations, including 1 year when we were actually in the parade. We've hosted National Night Out a couple of times, completed the Community Emergency Response Team classes, along with a couple of the city council members up here, and we vote in every election. This year I joined the Economic and Community Development Advisory Committee, and I've been the chairperson for the Hike and Bike Advisory Committee. My parents moved to Leon Valley from Brenham 3 years ago, and we were fortunate to still have my mom with us. My wife, Mary, is a paralegal. Our daughter, Teresa, is a UTSA graduate and is currently enrolled at St. Philip's College. Our son, Evan, is a junior at UT Austin, and I work for a state agency here in town and have a Bachelor of Science from Texas A&M University in College Station. I don't know what happened to my son. How does an Aggie evacuate San Antonio in case of a hurricane? He uses Loop 410. There's an Aggie that saw a sign that read wet cement, so he did it. How many Aggie freshmen does it take to change a light bulb? None. It's a second-year course. What are the best 4 years of a Texas A&M student's life? 3rd grade. So, folks, I have no agenda here, only ideas, and I'm in nobody's camp. My opinion is there should be give and take on the city council. In other words, mutual concessions and compromises and a free exchange of ideas and opinions. If selected, I would like to move forward from here and not look back. And I believe we should all work together for the betterment of Leon Valley. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hody. All right. Any questions for Mr. Hody? All right. Mr. Blackmore, you're next. Thank you.
Apparently this was set up before this council meeting. Mr. Hody is a fine individual. I've known him during this time of strife here in Leon Valley. Seems to be a high moral individual, very ethical. My hat's off to him. But what I was surprised of, the quick nomination of him, because I have 2 other people I would like for y'all to consider. One is very moral. He's already been vetted by the team. That's David Jordan. He knows the council. He's a good man. And the other one is Mr. Lozano from the Zoning Commission. well-versed, moral, ethical. I wish y'all would consider those two also before y'all take a final vote who's going to fill this seat. That's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Blackmore. All right, any other? Yes. Good evening and welcome, Mr. Jordan.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and citizens. Thank you, Mr. Blackmore, for those words, but I respectfully decline to accept the nomination for the City Council seat for place number 4. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments before we take a vote on this motion in a second? Yes. Mr. Alonso, good evening and welcome.
Good evening. I'm very honored to be nominated by the floor, not officially nominated, obviously. From what I've heard from Mr. Hody, he sounds like an amazing man, and I don't know him well. I do think I would as well be a good addition to your council, to our council as a city. I try to be unbiased. I try to be fair and equitable. But I think you have a great candidate, in my opinion, in either of us. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Alonso. Okay. See no one else who'd like to speak. We have a motion and a second to appoint Mr. Hody in place 4. Ms. Posley, would you take the roll call vote?
Counselor Charles?
Yes.
Counselor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Counselor Alcacer?
Yes.
Counselor Bradshaw?
I abstain.
Okay, the motion passes 3 yeses and 1 abstention. Thank you, Mr. Hody.
And
And
if you may be
congratulations.
sworn in, Mayor.
Well, like I said, I always think it had to be on there. That all of our. I didn't think action was. I thought it was just appointment and not actually swearing in. So, okay.
So,
So, Mr. Hody,
Mayor?
yes.
With all due respect, Council, if the local government code does give the right to administer the oath of office to a notary, the city secretary, a judge, or the mayor, I would like to offer that to the mayor because in the council meetings, it's usually the mayor, if that would be all right with everybody.
that will be fine.
Fine with me.
Do we have a? You have the floor.
It's blank, but because I didn't know who was going to be nominated, but
Yeah, I didn't know either. Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Hody.
I'm sorry. I've got a big voice and I've got a cold too.
Okay. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, I state your name.
Matthew Hody,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office
that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office
of Council Place 4
of Council Place 4
of the City of Leon Valley
of the City of Leon Valley
of the state of Texas,
of the State of Texas,
and I will, to the best of my ability,
and I will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and of this state, so help me God.
and of this state, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Look forward to working with you.
where's the, I need to, where is she? Okay. Yes, Mr. Hovey, please say a few words. Well, you already did, but go ahead and say something.
Yeah, I pretty much did. I was serious when I said that I don't have any agenda here. I just want everyone to work together. It's an odd occasion. I'm not comfortable with it, but I know that I can fulfill the duties of City Council in Place 4. Thank you all very much.
I need for you to sign. If you'll sign here, please. Signature of officer. As per the request by Ms. Alcacer and the council, we move to Agenda 8.2. Ms. Pasley, is this the first read? Because it's an ordinance? I had that question. It doesn't say, so I wasn't sure if you should read it or I should read it.
Let me get there real quick.
Okay.
One moment. This item was originally a resolution, but we spoke about it, and I don't know if you remember because what's gone on since then. Since we became a home rule city, I spoke with the city attorney, and we found that there's some things that were in those resolutions that have been posted out front and have been amended several times since 2013 that are in the charter. And we were asking that if y'all are going to amend those resolutions, that we do it in the form of an ordinance. So it's not in an ordinance yet, but we were asking that it become an ordinance.
Okay, so we do need two reads.
Yes, ma'am.
So would this be termed the first read then?
Technically, yes.
Technically, okay. And so can you walk us through and tell us which of these rules of decorum are in the Home Rule Charter? I mean, in the, is it the Home Rule Charter? No, it's the ordinance that you're saying. It's already there. Yeah, the resolution. I understand, but we're converting it to an ordinance.
Correct.
Right. So because, you had,
Let me pull it up. It is not my item, but I can look at them with you.
this was requested by Councilor Rodriguez with the second with Councilor Char. So if you would like to also begin the discussion, that would be good as well.
Do we need to read it?
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley, Texas City Council adopting rules of conduct and decorum for public meeting and hearing held by the City Council and any board or commission of City Council, providing for repeal or severability and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Pasley.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes, if you look on where it says Section 2.
Is there a page number?
Let's see. 182. I just printed out that section.
Page 182 of the packet?
Should we start with the where he is? on the first page?
Do we need to start with whereas?
No, I mean, should we start with whereas?
You might want to do a general discussion, because I
Yes,
think her purpose is she put all the different resolutions, and some of them are current and some are not, so we're kind of making it, I believe.
because on the first page, on 181, where the whereases are, I would like to insert one in that area.
Okay.
And it's right, would be right after, while the public may provide information during designated times at public meetings to the city council, such presentation must be limited to public business in order for the city council to efficiently and effectively conduct its meetings. That is great. Right after that, I would like to insert, whereas while the public may provide information during designated times at public meetings to the city council, such presentations must be courteous, respectful, and free of personal and character attacks.
Is that the only one you had there? That was it?
And I'd like any feedback.
Okay, yes, Sandra, we're all over the map here.
I think I just joined the meeting. Sorry. A lot has happened since we put this on here. Now I remember. So this item came about through Councilor Charles and Councilor Rodriguez to put this ordinance, or this at the time ordinance, on here. And you also had pointed out, Mayor, and Councilor Alcacer several times during the hearings about the phone use and things like that. So we referenced the resolutions that had been passed in the past. So what I spoke to you, Mayor, about was putting these other things that you do have in these resolutions to maybe incorporate them into the ordinance that the councilors are presenting. So when you're doing this ordinance, councilors, if you could consider those many things that are, none of them are inactive, Councilor Alcacer. They're all still very active.
The one of sign up, I thought we took out in 2015.
Well, the amendments are, if you follow them, I put them in order for you. The amendments are there. So, but the majority of that is.
Confusing
Yes.
the way it is.
Right,
I thought,
but
oh, no.
you need to reference those and put them in
Oh.
if you want to keep them.
Do we read it from is it the front to the back? Is that?
What I would ask is if you could direct staff to bring back a cleaned up ordinance, and Denise and I could work together and put those in there for you.
Okay, so if we give our ideas of what changes we'd like, okay, that would be great.
And we could put the ones that are in those resolutions there and merge them with the one that's being presented by the counselors, and then you could go and strike through which ones you don't want.
Okay, because like the September 1st, we're required to have citizens to be heard. I'd like that part clarified and the time clarified and things like that.
Okay. We present it on the 3rd?
Pardon?
To be presented on the 3rd?
Yes, since
Okay.
it's, and hopefully, but I would like to defer back to these two since it was their item and I'm not sure where they were headed. It's just my idea since I read it.
Just a point of clarification, please. So page 181 and 182, that's what y'all are proposing,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Just want to be sure and all of the specifics behind it, we would bring forth what we would want to keep
I think
to
so.
add to it. Okay.
And then that would,
Or to get rid of
I think it's, a clarification is maybe that we're going through to try to include some and exclude some and to make other changes. And so we're not saying we want those two on 181 and 182. They're used as a basis, I think.
Yes.
Because like
Oh, these
180
are just a basis? So
I
they're,
believe that the mayor and council, the ordinance on 182 is more of a template and more of a template, as you will, for you to either add whatever you like or make an amendment to whatever rules there are in the current active resolutions that we have. We can amend that in this ordinance, so, or make a change to it, so that's basically it. Ryan Henry was courteous enough to, or generous enough to provide us with this template.
So there's 4 different ones, Mayor, and we're just trying to make our suggestions
Okay.
on them, and then they'll put us a good one, hopefully.
Okay, do you want to begin?
Oh, I don't mind beginning. I can tell you my thoughts. I would like, on this page I'm looking at,
If you
the
could, yes,
citizen-
please reference the page number, that would be wonderful.
the,
Thank you.
the citizens to be heard. I don't know how many other resolutions it's in, but it's on packet page 184 and 185. And the, in the 4+ years I've been on council, there's been less than a handful of people speak at the end of a meeting, and it's usually, thank God it's over or something like that. But, so I would like to have the citizens to be heard at the beginning of the meeting. I'd also like to refer to the fact that citizens to be heard can weigh in on each item, each agenda item. I'd also like to change the time so it's consistent. 2 minutes at the beginning of the meeting, 2 minutes on any item. I'd also like to include the, take out the limitations. I think we had 30 minutes and at the beginning, and it's almost never needed, but when it is, people can have their 2 minutes. I'd also like some reference, maybe we've had some problems sometimes with people borrowing the time of others and then talking for 30, 45 minutes. I would like to hear from each citizen themselves who has something to say and not pass their time so that one person can talk forever. And I'd like I liked what Ms. Charles said about no personal attacks on anybody, whether it be staff, council, or one another, other citizens.
Okay, yes, Mr. Bradshaw.
I don't understand why the effort, I do understand the reason for this current council, but the effort to continually limit citizens' voices. This happened the last 4 or 5 weeks when we went through this 312 hearing. Not every meeting I made a motion for allowing citizens to be heard. Every meeting it was denied. Nobody seconded my motion. And now we're trying to limit the number of minutes that people can speak. We've had times in the past when citizens have come in and they have to explain a problem that was going on, like the towing of vehicles at 4 o'clock in the morning out of their driveway. It's going to take more than 2 minutes sometimes, and I think in general we've been pretty generous to not strictly enforce the 3-minute rule. If somebody's going to come up here and give a 40-minute diatribe, then I understand, but if they take 3 or 4 minutes, it's generally okay. And I don't see any reason to, as you said, Ms. Alcacer, usually at the end of the meetings, there's no citizens to be heard. They just pass. So then why get rid of it? If it's not causing any more time, if something comes up and citizens want to talk about something that happened during the meeting, why not allow them that opportunity? Another thing, we're talking about no criticism of staff or council members or anything like that. This Texas Senate just passed HB 2840, which we're talking about goes into effect on September 1st. And not only does it require councils to allow citizens to be heard at the beginning and during agenda items, it also says in Part E, a governmental body may not prohibit public criticism of the governmental body, including criticism of any act, omission, policy, procedure, program, or service. I myself have been the subject of criticism from some members of the citizens, and that's fine with me. That's their right. That's their constitutional right. if they want to criticize me for something that I've said or done, and I will take it. And I think we should not be so thin-skinned to try and prohibit people from voicing their opinions.
Okay, thank you.
Just a point of clarification, Mayor. With Ms. Alcazar, on your request to have the citizens to be heard during items to be presented on the agenda, did you want them to comment after the item has been presented or in the beginning? Because sometimes during some council meetings, they have citizens to be heard and the citizens have an opportunity to speak on each and every item they want to speak on before they're even discussed by council. So I was just trying to clarify how you.
Okay, at the beginning, I'd like it to remain the same as we presently do, where they can talk about anything, whether it's agenda items or whatever, but they can talk about anything. And then the second part would be that they're able to speak after any presentation of any item that they're entitled to be heard.
And one more, Mayor. I just wanted to clarify on what Councilor Bradshaw was saying about the House bill. It does talk about allowing citizens to be heard, but it doesn't give permission to make personal attacks on any of it just says the governmental body you can criticize, of course, because that's the First Amendment constitutional right. You can criticize your government, but it doesn't say that you're allowed to make personal attacks upon staff or any council member that's not germane to the subject. So I disagree with that part.
Where does it say that? It
Well,
does
it
say
doesn't, where you just read it.
Right, I just read it. The part that I didn't read, if I may, sorry.
Sure.
Says, this subsection does not apply to public criticism that is otherwise prohibited by law. So if it's prohibited by law, then I agree. Threats, vulgarities, stuff like that, of course. But if they're criticizing a governmental body, including criticism of an act, omission, policy, procedure, program, or service, if they want to come and talk about
But those aren't
public works or something, then not criticizing public
personal
works.
attacks, though. In my opinion, the way that law reads, it doesn't count
What
as
if,
personal
what
attacks.
what if they had an issue with an officer in our law and they called the officer out by name? Is that, you're saying that's not allowed?
If that officer, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if they have a problem with whatever the officer did as a part of its governmental function or as a part of its governmental duty, they have a right to criticize that. But to personally attack somebody for whatever they did, they're not giving them permission to do that, in my opinion, of that House bill. So we can have a difference of opinion, but
I agree. I understand. And I just would like to say it's a very slippery slope when you start telling people what they cannot say
But
about First
Excuse
Amendment.
me, just a second, please, Ms. Charles. I'm going to call on Ms. Rodriguez, and then I'll call on you, Ms. Charles.
While, Mr. Bradshaw, I do agree with you about being thick-skinned, you also have to remember that some people get harassed or personally attacked more than others, and it has nothing to do with thick skin, and it does not have anything to do with, it has to do with the person and not with the act that they've committed. And it's happened quite a few times where individuals have come up during citizens to be heard and personally attacked, well, some of us. And that's not solving the problem. Getting into a he said, she said, or I don't like you because of this, that, or the other, that's not solving the problem. There's no room for personal attacks, whether the elected member is liked or not liked. We're here to do a job, and it should stick with the parameters of doing the job, not calling out a person just because you don't like their attitude or the way they dress or the way they carry themselves. And I was the one that brought this issue up for that very specific reason, because it has nothing to do, again, with people complaining. I have no problem with people complaining. If they don't like me, that's just fine. But that has nothing to do with my ability to do my job or how I've done my job. Those are two very distinct things, and that's why I brought this up, because I think it needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Charles.
I agree with that. I think anyone can criticize the actions of any of the persons up here, the actions of any of the boards or committees, but to personally attack their character is it's not acceptable.
All right. Mr. Hody, do you have any comments on this?
Yeah, Mr. Pollyanna here thinks that we should, there's criticism, there's personal attacks, and there's disagreements. We're always going to have disagreements, and that's fine. And, some people get a little more agitated about things, for a lack of better words. But, all I can do is ask that people, maybe at the beginning of the Citizens to be Heard, that they're kind of read the riot act a little bit about, hey, be nice, be cool, get your point across, and, let's move on. Having been a recent audience member, one of the things that I've noticed is sometimes the Citizens to be Heard does kind of drag on a little bit. And I know in the interest of time, not in the interest of not hearing what they have to say, but in the interest of time and moving things along, they should be brief. Thanks.
Right. Well, we just went through a real horrendous 6 weeks of hearings, and I was personally attacked, and so I know how it feels. Doesn't feel very good. So I would say staff, citizens, counselors, nobody should criticize or should be ugly, I guess you would say. But on the Citizens to be Heard, I think up to 5 minutes, because I thought Mr. Bradshaw made a good point, and that is by the time somebody comes and they're trying to get their point organized, and I don't think we have too many people going over 5 minutes, but if we have 2 minutes, then we're going to have people going over the 2 minutes, and then I have to try to stop them, and it's a little bit harder. So on the Citizens to be Heard at the beginning, up to 5 minutes, and then during the agenda, we've always had 3 minutes, and that seems to be a good, even number. And not everybody comments at the agenda item, but I think we're a unique city in that we do allow citizen participation, and that's what I love about Leon Valley. We want to hear from our citizens and our residents and our guests. So that's what I would say on the actual, up to 5 minutes and up to 3 minutes for those portions.
Going back to where we started, on page 182 of the packet where it says Section 2, where it says, such rules shall be administered by the presiding officer of such council, board, or commission. I guess I had a question on, let's say, just for instance, if an individual is getting up and sharing or giving their personal attack, whatever the case may be, and we as a fellow council are expecting you as the mayor, as a presiding officer, to put a stop to it if it gets out of hand. I guess I wanted some feedback on what happens if you don't put a stop to it. Can one of us say, call a point of order, or?
I think so.
Or
that'd be fine. I have no problem with that.
Okay, I guess I was going to ask around and see what my colleagues thought. If just saying, for example, if you don't do it, if you just flat out refuse, is there a consequence? Is there something that should follow up if you don't? I'm just asking. Or if a board member, a board commissioner doesn't put a stop to it?
I don't think so.
Mayor and council, the mayor or the chairman of any committee is the presiding officer, so it's within their discretion to acquiesce to your point of order or not. So as a presiding officer, they have the discretion.
Right. Okay. Yes, Ms. Alcacer.
On that same page, in response to Mr. Bradshaw, it's on page 182 under Section 5. Such rules may be suspended for good cause by the presiding officer during a meeting as long as the presentation of information remains related to the public business only. That, I think, allows you, Mayor, to be able to, if someone needs more than the 2 minutes that I would like to see. That we have had so many times people thinking they come in and they have 5 minutes and they only have 3, or vice versa. If we make it a consistent amount, my choice is 2, but 3 would be the maximum. I would say you can always give them a little more time. It's just the idea, like I wouldn't restrict the 21 minutes and the 30 minutes that are in here, because
I don't think we've ever followed that. I don't think
a
we've ever
couple of
followed that,
times
have
we
we?
have, but
We have.
it just, I don't think it's necessary. I would really like to hear from whoever wants to speak about a subject. And I don't think we need a variation of times for things.
Okay. I still think 2 minutes is too short. You have no idea. That's a short amount of time, but anyway, I'd like it to be longer.
Are you, Ms. Counselor Alcazar, are you saying that you would change it to 3 minutes? Are you okay with 3 minutes? Or was that only for the items on the agenda that they discussed?
No, I want the amount consistent across the board. I prefer the 2 minutes so that we can hear from more people, and very few people speak for, in my experience, that length of time. I would prefer not to have the 3 minutes, but if we have it, we want to, if it's a consensus, to have it across the board. I just want the same amount before and during, and nothing at the end.
So currently, just to clarify, just to clarify, so right now it's 5 minutes at the beginning and 3 minutes during the items. So I would be okay with changing it to 3 minutes at the beginning and 3 minutes during the items. I think
Okay,
that to make it
and what did you
consistent.
mean by nothing at the end? What did you mean by
Yeah,
that?
once we get to the last item, anybody has had a chance to talk. I think we don't need another to call. That's more than enough time, I think, for anybody to have talked. They can always send in a text, they can send in an email, they can give a letter, mail in something. There's all kinds of ways to do it, and we don't, there just isn't a need for it to be at the end.
So no citizens to be heard at the
At
end?
the
Is that
end.
what you're saying?
Yes.
I thought that the legislature just said you had to have that.
It doesn't say at the end,
doesn't say
it
at the
says
end?
at the beginning. It has to be at
Okay.
the beginning or
And-
during the items.
Okay.
And we have some
Okay,
citizens that
very
want
good.
to
Let me
talk.
make sure that the counselors are finished. Yes,
Oh.
Ms. Charles?
And I would agree with the 3 minutes across the board, too.
Okay, very good. All right.
And I just want to, well, go ahead. I'll bring it up later. No, please.
Mr. Smith?
Mayor, Council, good evening. David Smith, Old Mill Neighborhood. I agree with Councilor Bradshaw 100%. I don't agree with just 3 minutes accepting, 5 minutes when it comes to citizens to be heard. When we're talking during the agenda on these items, we don't have to sit and explain what we're going to be talking to you about. We're already talking about it. We need that extra time. And with as everything we've gone through, and even setting that aside, we always talk about how we are very open, we are very transparent, we are very clear. Don't limit my time to talk to you. This is the only time I can legally talk to all of you together and not violate open meetings or anything else. So, and then I think additionally, there's been plenty of meetings where I understand it's going till 11, 12 o'clock at night. I've had zoning meetings run that late, and you know what? So be it. We all volunteered for it. That's what we signed up for. It's what you signed up for. If y'all are tired at the end of the meeting, too bad. We need our chance to be able, it's what you were elected to do. The only time I'll ever get applauded in this
There
meeting.
you go.
And as I'm coming up on 3 minutes, I'm sure, I would just encourage you to keep that one at the end. There's plenty of times I've thought of something during the meeting, or it is running very long and we do need to move on to important business, but there's still things that I want to say to you guys at the end of the meeting. So I respectfully ask that you leave it at 3 minutes for a mid-agenda item and 5 minutes for citizens to be heard. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Alonso, okay.
Edward Alonzo Canterfield, Vice Chair of the Zoning Commission. in my experience on the zoning commission, we can have some very technical things that occur. And 3 minutes is often not enough, in my opinion, to actually be able to understand the problem at hand. And so what I would request is if you do limit the city councils to 3 minutes, allow the rest of the committees and commissions to expand it up to 5 or up to what they need, because we sometimes really need 5 minutes.
I think you make a good point, because these rules will go for all of the boards, all of the commissions. So that's a good point. Yes, Ms.
I'm not
Charles.
sure if we're not misunderstanding, or at least I am. So when you're talking, you sound as if we're going to limit the boards and chairs' presentations to 5 minutes.
No. The citizens.
No.
So during a case, we have the city present, we have I'm going to call him plaintiff. I don't know what the technical term is right now. Applicant. Thank you. Applicant present. And then there's sometimes citizens that have actual information and knowledge that needs to be presented. It can be an architect, it can be a lawyer for technical reasons. And it can be a variety of different people that we need to give them extra time so that we can fully understand the situation.
The citizens that are getting up, you're still talking about that.
Correct, because the only two parts that are not citizen to be heard is the presentation by the city and the presentation by the applicant. After that, it's citizens to be heard.
Okay. Very good. Okay, thank you. Ms. Alcacer?
I don't think that anyone is restricted in any of the meetings if they're participating in what's going on, like the architect or other people like that are involved in the case. This is just the citizens not involved in the case, and it's no restriction at all on any committee members in any way. And it is one thing I've done, attended unbelievable number of committee meetings, and it's seldom that it is needed, and if, like the mayor has done a number of times, if someone needs more time, they're given it. It's just not an indefinite thing, and every presiding officer in every committee has the right to give that same time. So it's just a basic courtesy when you have 50 people who want to talk. If they're going to talk for 5 minutes, you can't proceed with what you're trying to get done. So that's why I think you need to look at it a little bit more broadly. And overall, the number of people speaking on any item at any time is very small, and you don't have to see, well, you still have more time, keep talking when they're finished.
Okay. I think you make a good point, Mr. Smith, about, giving a little bit more time at the beginning, and I'd like to keep the citizens to be heard at the end. We don't have very many people, but I think you're right. You have a thought that just came in your mind, and you want to say it before we adjourn. So to keep that flexibility, I think, is important. So, and I still agree up to 5 minutes and up to 3 minutes, but I understand there's a compromise on the discussion for 3 minutes across the board. So I would say that during the agenda item, the way we've handled it here on the dais is that we always have the staff present, have council discussion, and then we hear from the citizens, because then they have a basis from which to add their input on. I don't think we've ever had them go first. In other words, is what I'm saying. We've always done it in that order, which I think makes a lot of sense. Yes, Ms. Charles.
So what if our compromise is this 3 minutes across the board, and then leave the citizens to be heard at the end, another 3 minutes? So that's all 3 minutes across the board.
Sorry.
Yes, Mr. Bradshaw.
After listening to the citizens, I prefer to allow them to speak, but if that's the compromise, then I'm okay with that. If we have 3 minutes at the beginning, 3 minutes after presenting the items on the agenda, and then 3 minutes at the end.
Yes, it sounds like that's a consensus. Mr. Hody, do you agree with that?
I just wanted to mention, when I remember taking speech class, and I thought 3 minutes was a long time.
Okay. What else do you want included in the rules?
I'd like under number 6 on page 185 for it to follow the charter. I think it reads differently than that.
About the placement of the agenda items?
Yes,
With
ma'am.
signatures of 2 council members or the mayor? Okay.
Mayor and council, because it's in the charter, you don't really even need it here if you don't want it, because the charter, if this is different from the charter, it's null and void. The charter supersedes that.
So let's take it out.
Okay.
Which one are we taking?
Number 6 on 185.
Mayor,
Yes.
and
yes,
then
ma'am.
if this is going to be an ordinance and include other things, I don't see the mention of using electronic devices in it either, so I'd like that.
That's on page 187.
But I thought these were past resolutions, so we're going to bring those forward?
It's a combination of all resolutions. Some had been changed. It's just that's what she's trying to do, get us to, some are gone and some are current, and we have them in all different places, so it's trying to organize it.
Well, I would like that one brought forward. Which one is that? About using electronic devices and.
Number 6 on page, whatever page.
187.
187.
You know, I think it's anybody that sits at the dais, it should be
Right.
applicable. I mean, whoever's on the dais, because it is distracting, to say the least.
I think that the staff, well, particularly the city manager, I guess probably not the city attorney, but the city manager, it's part of her job to be able to be responding and doing things during the meeting, because she's not an actual participant, where the city attorney is a participant and all the rest of us are. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I just, from my own personal experience, I'd rather have, or whoever's my successor would probably rather have access to a computer or iPod so that we can, or cell phone, in order to look up the different laws or be able to find laws that are applicable to a certain particular situation. So without that ability, it's kind of difficult to provide you with good advice.
I agree with that. The Surface, but our Surface, we can also do it on our Surface for things like that. But, so I don't know.
Well, I just noticed during the 312 hearing that, I mean, you really saw a lot on those videos, and you saw that the cell phone on the dais is a distractor. You know, somebody texts you, and you look at it, and then you share it with the person next to you, and, you know, I just, I don't know. And as far as the legal thing, I mean, you have your Surface, like you say, can you, with your legal Westlaw on it? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean,
I can't get that through my phone.
Not
I would need
yeah,
an
your
iPod.
computer.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's a little different. But that's just what I observed.
I agree with the mayor of it being very distracting.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it was, anyway.
Does excuse me, can the manager weigh in on this? Since
Sure. Ms. Kinsler?
Go ahead. No, you have me on mute. Unmute me.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So I don't have an issue taking the Surface to the dais instead of the cell phone. My issue is not being able to continue to work from the dais. I post from the dais. I send out emails after most of the items on the agenda, and so I would like a mechanism to be able to do that. I would like to continue to keep working, and we've discussed this with council in the past, and I will report things to Audit during the city council meetings, and absolutely I get texts. I got texts, from the fire chief, this is going on, what should I do about this? So that's not uncommon for, a staff member out in the audience, particularly the fire chief or the police chief, to ask me a question about, something that's going on during the council meeting. So I could always step off the dais for that if you don't want the phone up there. But I would ask to be able to continue to work, because otherwise then I stay after the city council meeting, write it all down by hand, and try to catch up.
Can you use your Surface for that, Ms. Kinsler?
I can use my Surface for everything except communicating with the staff. And Crystal, have we fixed, I used to not be able to use my Surface for Nextdoor, but then I can't be on Nextdoor anymore unless I'm in the official capacity, and so did that get fixed?
Not yet. Or
Okay.
Lisa's working on that right now.
Okay, so I can only post from my phone, or at least that's the way it was. We're trying to fix that right now. So there's definitely work that gets done from the dais, but I would certainly agree that there's some of the texts that I receive, such as, I don't know, this door's open, what about this? Somebody wants the temperature turned up. I receive all those types of texts. Miss Jones is cold. Is the temperature at 70 or 68? I'm getting a lot of that kind of stuff.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
The city attorney doesn't have a Surface. I don't have one.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Okay.
So the only thing I have is my phone.
Okay.
Kelly just made a statement that y'all are the policymakers, so she'll defer to y'all. But she would just like to be able to continue to work from the dice.
Could some of those go to you or Sandra? Like the
Well,
temperature,
are
the
we
room
included-
temperature?
Are we included on the dais as far as?
No, you're not. This is the dais right here, up here. So I'm wondering if those kind of, the temperature of the room, I don't know.
I know, Crystal and I are on our phones constantly because I'm working and I'm also doing,
Just
we're
trying to
parenting and
explore some
all
options here.
kinds of
I mean,
stuff.
they can certainly
So.
email. That's what I'm doing half the time, is responding to emails when
Right.
I'm sitting up
Okay.
here, so.
Well, maybe we just say no personal texts, only work-related.
Okay.
Let's see
Yeah,
if you
okay.
can
I'm not gonna
enforce
check.
that.
Yeah, see if that's enforceable. I don't think so. Yeah. Okay. Anything else in the body of the?
So we're just going to eliminate any duplications and the ones we've taken out and add what we've talked about?
I think, yes, and I think, Ms. Rodriguez, I think on page 190, on number 7, we use that procedure in the 312 hearings, which I thought was effective. And that's the same thing where if you're trying to deal with somebody that's disruptive. So I think I'd like to put that in the rules, because I think it's very clear. So.
Above number 4, I was looking at the 2015, and then where it talks about the ceremonial items and informational presentations. This one says 7, but I think the most recent one said 6.
It's because we changed the
Well, no,
meeting.
I mean, so we can make sure that we have the.
Yeah, exactly. It would be
the right
6
wording.
o'clock. Mm-hmm.
Did we ever come to consensus, Mayor, on the phone?
No, I don't know if did we get consensus on the phone?
Oh, I'm sorry. Mayor and Council, I was just asking if we got a consensus on the cell phone usage on the dais, or what did y'all decide?
I don't have any problem with the staff. I do consider Sandra and Crystal part of the dais. I'm sorry, guys. But it's just a necessity, and to limit it to work-related, just police yourselves, please.
And how are other members of the council?
I got a
Weighing
question.
in on
I
that,
understand
yes.
the personal communication thing on the dais. How it could be distracting. But what about, I mean, as Ms. Frederick said earlier, she doesn't have a Surface and she wants to look up a legal thing. That's a perfectly valid reason to me. But as members of the council, I feel like we might have questions too that we want to look up something. Is that allowed?
Not on your phone.
Why not?
You can look it up on your Surface.
So then no phone, stick to Surface.
No phones stick to Surface? Is that what the consensus is?
Well, except for staff.
Mayor,
Yes.
I don't have any trouble with Ms. Frederick nor Ms. Kinsler using their electronic devices for business. And since Ms. Frederick has to give us advice, whatever she needs to use to get that appropriate device is fine with me.
Okay. Mr. Alonso?
Just reminding the council that this applies to all commissions and all councils.
Yes.
We don't have Surfaces. We have to bring our laptops. We have to bring our phones. We have to be able to do those things. So please keep that in mind, that the rules that you make also need to be encompassing what we can do as well.
Good point.
Yeah,
Yes.
just to be clear, you're talking about during a zoning commission meeting, you're on the dais, and you'd have to be using your phones to do research.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the zoning ordinances, I have to be able to going through that frequently. And I have a binder this big, and sometimes it's easier to use a laptop. He uses one as well. I mean, we need to be able to reference ordinances really fast.
Right.
And make sure that we're not have one pulled over us, right? And so we're able to incorporate everything. So maybe the individual commissions can set similar rules based off of their needs, but maybe you guys can set a standard of kind of decorum and say that, no personal stuff, technology for the purpose of the meeting, something along those lines.
Okay.
So, Mayor and Council, just a point of clarification. On this one that we're discussing on page 187 of the packet, number 6, it says council members. It doesn't say anything about committee members or it's the rules of conduct for city council under this particular resolution. So if you want to just, I don't know how you want to do that, if you want to include that or exclude committee members or committees on this particular one. I just need a consensus.
I have a question, Sandra. Can we combine what Mr. Alonso is saying with what the city attorney is saying and make 2 separate ones so that when you come back, make it the longer one to include, but have a separate committee and a separate council one to eliminate these problems? See or no? Yes?
If you see it as a problem, sure. I mean, if that's what you want us to do, then I think Ms. Frederick and I can figure that out.
I think it would help.
Okay.
Okay. Yes.
So are we just for point of clarification, Mayor and Council, so are we now just discussing City Council? Because,
On the devices?
I mean, on everything.
Oh, on
No,
everything.
Based on what Ms. Alcazar just said. So are we splitting it up or?
We'll have 2 different ones. They'll
Because
be
we'd have
very-
to have another ordinance or another resolution for the committee members, and we have to come back another time.
It can't be done based on what we were talking about when we come for the second read. It can be separated out or not.
No, it would have to be 2 separate items on the agenda, or we could do an A and B. We do an A and B, city secretary. So I guess, but it's not an A and B now.
It's captioned for all, for city council and any board or commission of the council. So technically, yes, you could A and B it.
Okay.
I say we A and B
Just
it.
not, it's just not on there now for the first read, though.
Could A and B it in the same ordinance.
Usually A and B is two separate ordinances or two separate resolutions, from my
We'll
experience.
figure it out and we'll bring it back to you.
Okay, I think that'll work. Yes, Mr. Smith.
Mayor, Council, thank you. I think you guys are getting way too far into the weeds with this. You're also taking away all the discretionary power of the chairs of the committees. What happens in here is far, far different than the way some of these other committees are run. I completely understand to a limited aspect something like the Board of Adjustment or the Zoning Commission, but you can ask any of the members or anyone who's been to a zoning commission. I feel I run a very tight ship, and my committee will check me if I don't. Way these meetings have to run is really, we're going to have Park Commission do this. We're going to have Earthwise Living do this. I think y'all need to, if you're going to do this, create a very broad set of general guidelines and then leave it up to the commissioners to run their own meetings. You trust us enough to put us on these committees. The people that you trust to put on these committees trust us to be elected as chairs of these committees. Let us run it. We don't have a problem. If there's a problem, we'll come to you and say, hey, look, we suggest you do this as well. Thank you.
Good, thank you. I appreciate that input. Yes, Heather Riddle. And you're the chair of the sign committee, so I'd like to hear from you as well. We'd like to hear from you as well.
Hi, Heather Riddle, Rousseau-Fee. I just wanted to point out that from what I was reading on there, correct me if I'm wrong, but it says for the purpose of communication. It doesn't say for the purpose of research or for the purpose of looking something up. It just specifically states communication, text, email, et cetera. Just want to point that out.
Thank you. Okay, good point. Yes, Ms. Charles.
I was looking at the title of this, and it says of the city council, the conduct for city council. So,
That's from a different resolution.
see, I'd like to come back with a clean one. Please.
Well, you know, maybe what we could do is y'all go back and craft something for the council, but we could maybe share it with all of the other committees, and y'all could look at it and revise it according to your needs. The Zoning Commission, the Board of Adjustment, the Sign Committee, and then, I don't know. I mean, that's just an idea, because I like your point, Mr. Smith. It's two totally different functions here, so. Okay, anything else? So, is that a consensus?
Yeah, I kind of want to say I agree with Ms. Charles that I feel like this should be crafted more towards the council, this what we're talking about now, the ordinance, and go back and come up with something to vote on, and then the other committees can look at it and see if it would apply or if it would need to be adjusted or not.
Or could you just do a general committee one, too?
It would probably be in their own best interest, each committee, to
Okay,
come up with
good.
their own
That's what-
rules of
that's what
conduct.
I said, yeah.
And how it works best for them, rather than be dictated to or be, I don't know, micromanaged.
Well, you can see what we're crafting and then just go from there, so, okay, sounds good. Any other questions, comments before we move on? Yes, sir.
Just one more statement I'd like to make. I was thinking about this again, about not being able to allow public criticism of governmental bodies, acts, omissions, policies, procedures. I like to thank all these brave men and women who fought in the armed forces for us that are here tonight. They have fought for our First Amendment rights, our right to criticize public officials. We can say, to a certain extent, anything we want about our president, about our elected officials, and that's our right as Americans. I go to Thailand quite a bit for work. If you say something bad about the royal family, they throw you in jail. That's not America. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Right. Well, and I think it goes along with being able to say what you want to say, but in a respectful way, right?
Understood.
So I
But
think
when you
that's
start
important.
telling people what they can and can't say, it
Right.
gets very slippery.
Well, if you read carefully what you keep reading to us, it never says the person. It always talks about the actions and the things that happen, but no, not the person. And I think that's very important in what we're doing.
Okay, very good. All right, let's move on. I know we've had a very lengthy discussion on that. So we're going to go back to the first page of our agenda, and we have a couple of presentations. And our first presentation this evening is Chairman David Smith, Chairman of the Zoning Commission, who will give us the annual report. Mr. Smith, welcome.
Mayor, Council, hello again. I will be very brief, I promise you. Okay. The Zoning Commission, you can go to the next slide. I've got this one? Yes. Okay. The Zoning Commission is an advisory board that makes recommendations to council. We don't decide anything. All our resolutions to you are pure recommendations, whether for or against something. We are a 10-member board. We have 7 regular members, 3 alternates. We officially meet the 4th Tuesday in these chambers at 6:30. However, with the workload lately, there's been a lot going on in our great city that we've added a second meeting, which is the second Tuesday of every month. Although, as summer has dragged on, we've kind of stopped that for a little bit. But I anticipate those starting up again here pretty soon. The city's community development department is our liaison, and members are appointed by you for 2-year alternating terms. As a home rule city, the city of Leon Valley is required to have a zoning commission. The duties of the commission consist essentially of recommending boundaries of new zoning districts and regulations, recommending changes in zoning district boundaries, it's essentially a duplicate, changes in zoning district boundaries and regulations, and recommending enforcement of regulations in zoning districts, specifically making recommendations on conditions relating to certain zoning requests, like specific use permits. Noteworthy over the last 12 months from June of 2018, we essentially had 3 zone change requests. We had 9 specific use permits and 6 code amendments. And currently we are fully staffed with the exception of 1 alternate, but my understanding is that hopefully you guys will have a couple applications in front of you all here pretty soon to get my commission all filled out. Over the last year, some of these will ring a bell, I know, to most of you. Some of our noteworthy cases from the zoning aspect was the St. John's Baptist Church, which was denied by commission and by council. And then the William Rancher Age Drive property, which was recommended, approved by commission and still pending with you guys due to the platting issues and everything that's going on there. Other things, noteworthy code amendment, we revised the findings criteria within the zoning code regulating the approval of variances by the Board of Adjustment. I know that was a pretty hot topic for a while, but I think in the end we can all agree it gave them some good solid criteria to be able to make the decisions that they need to be able to make. And then over the last 2 years, a couple of the trends we're starting to see is we've had 2 requests to be removed from the Sustainability Overlay District. 3 requests for indoor entertainment use type specific use permits, and 2 requests for a dog kennel. We joke in commission quite frequently when one comes up, we know automatically it's going to be on Poss Road because that seems to be where all of them have ended up. If y'all think I'm kidding, go drive around over there, okay? Other pending cases right now, we have Paradise Car Wash, which is the car wash facility at Evers and Huebner. That'll be coming back before commission on Tuesday next week. We're talking about a new zoning district called a Planned Development District. Talking with Mr. Milan today. He's got that's with outside counsel right now, so that'll be coming back before commission here pretty soon. And then also what we talked about I think it was last city council or the meeting before, is the townhome project over on Poss Road as well, which Councilor Alcacer and Councilor Bradshaw are liaisons to the zoning commission for that. Our other current initiatives right now is, as always, we are looking at the comprehensive master plan and making amendments and getting it updated with the current vision of the city. With that, it's one of those things we talk about almost every meeting. I invite anyone and everyone to come to our meetings, to please come voice their opinion about it. This is your city, and we want to know what you think. With that goes the zoning code overhaul. Our code it's old, it's outdated, it needs some fresh life breathed into it. We are slowly working on the process of that. And the other thing that we're starting to talk about is legally changing the zoning commission to a planning and zoning commission so that we can take a first pass at plats and comprehensive planning, which will just give one more step before it gets to you guys, so it's been citizen viewed as well. And with that, I stand for questions. Promised you brief.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Yes. Appreciate your service as well as the other 10 members of your commission, because you do a lot of good work for the city, and we thank you for that. Any questions for Mr. Smith? Yes, Ms. Alcacer.
Do you sometimes feel overwhelmed?
No, not at all. I love it. It's fun. And what's nice is while we have had turnover on the commission, we do have a solid group that's been there for a while, so I think it brings great balance to the commission. When it may seem overwhelming, you've got a commissioner who can bring up, well, I remember we had a case that went this way, and then that's balanced by, well, I just moved here 2 years ago, and I have this idea. What if we tried it this way? So it's always a great discussion. And the other thing I will point out is we're one of the other few commissions that, since we do meet in here, all of our meetings are broadcast online, and you can jump in and watch them online real time as well. And they're recorded. Go watch them. We try to wave and say hi to y'all on the camera every meeting.
Very good. That's great. Thank you.
Just another comment. I've been to many zoning commission meetings, and it's the most attentive group, and they come very prepared most of the time, and it's really interesting the way the interaction is and the variety of opinions, and everybody's considered. It is good.
Thank you.
Very good. All right. Thank you so much. Oh, yes, Mr. Hody. You bet.
I was wondering if all the dog facilities are heading over to Post Road. Does that affect the future townhomes in any way?
Commissioner, Mayor, Council, thank you. It is a question that we've raised before. We brought it up to the developers. We've brought it up to everyone who has applied to do anything on that road, and they all seem to think it's fine. And so, if another one comes, I'm sure the conversation of density will come up, because that's part of our purview, is to look at that and make sure that, we don't have, 8 of the same things all within the same block. But, we'll see where it goes from there. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you very much.
And have a good evening. Agenda item number 2.2, presentation of the monthly financial report ending July 31st, 2019. We have Ashley Wayman, our Assistant Finance Director, here this evening to present.
Good
evening
Mayor
and
and
welcome.
All right. So going over our monthly financial report for the month ended July 31st. Starting with our general fund, our ad valorem is looking pretty good as compared to budget. So we've just reached budget, so we're happy about that. Our sales taxes, again, are 2 months behind. So this reflects numbers through May, and we were actually up 2.95% this month. And we've also received the numbers for August, and we were up 1.72%. So sales taxes are looking good. For the most part, everything in the general fund is looking good. Expenditures as well. Most are on track, and most of the capital is done and completed already for the year. And those that are a little bit over about where they would be at this month are all being monitored.
Okay. Ashley, I just noticed on the council and manager, we're already at 90.2% of our expenditures, and we still have 2 months left
Right, yes.
So how are we doing on that?
They have pretty much cut off spending. I think they already just tried to get everything else that they needed, supplies and everything. So as far as I know, that's just, the rest of that's just being saved for, hopefully to not be used. But they've just locked down their expenditures. So on things like that, we just watch it pretty closely the last couple of
All right, very good. Yes.
I have a question
Counselor.
on ad valorem taxes, the 100.9%, is that because, thank you, is the 100.9%, is that because we're over what we projected, or because of paying fines, or why does it come in over?
We're just over what we projected for the year. We usually budget pretty conservatively, and just, based on trends and stuff. So we did have 4.3 budgeted, and we're now at 4.4. So that's just going off of the 2019 budget.
Okay, thank you.
All right, our water and sewer fund, our water sales are up from last year at this time, and it looks like if it stays dry like this, they'll probably continue to be ahead of last year. Everything else in our water and sewer fund is running on track. Kind of the same thing. We're over in our tapping fees and stuff just because of a lot of new development. So things are looking good there, and our expenditures are also on track.
Okay.
Our community center fund, hotel and motel taxes are just a little bit down from where they were last year at this point. That's just kind of the way they're trending this year. As far as our community and conference center rentals go, they are ahead of budget. That does include all those church rentals. However, if you take those out, we're still sitting at about 76% and 97% of budget. So they're actually doing okay. And we do have some, hopefully a CDBG grant pending to do some remodeling. So hopefully, if not, there will be some savings in other areas from the community and conference centers.
Okay. And Ashley, can you communicate what is included in the community center operation expenditures? Does that include personnel at all, or?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so it's just.
Or does it? Yes. Okay.
It
I'm
does.
sorry. Yeah, it's the personnel, it's the supplies,
Okay.
everything
So
it
it's
takes
the
to run the
regular-
facility.
okay.
Yes.
I
I'm
was-
sorry. The three normal that we
Okay.
usually, list out.
Contracts, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. Going on to our economic and community development. Again, this is part of general fund, just broken out here so you can see it. Sales tax, same thing, up 2.95% this month, 2 months behind. Everything in our expenditures seems to be on track, as well as our revenues. Contractual does include the ED project funding, which $29,851 is how much has been spent year to date from ED project funding. We have some to office furniture liquidation, Amiga Cafe, the UTSA Public Administration Program, and then as well as the July 4th celebration that the Economic and Community Development Fund did give a donation to.
Okay. And did we, Ms. Frederick, did we ever get that last bit of,
Not yet.
Okay, we're still waiting for about $78,000
Yeah.
to add to the 612.
And District
103.
Clerk's office is being really difficult about that.
I can't believe it. That's been months.
I know, but it's either, well, I'll let you know later.
Hey, I'll go down there and bug them on the doorstep. Really, give us our money. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
All right, going on to our red light cameras. We have here the Tier 1, which is everything that we account for and we report to the state. Everything in that area seems to be on track, as well as our revenues. Our fines and fees are obviously, ahead of budgeted because we didn't have a full year in yet. So hopefully next year we'll have a really good idea of how those are trending. And then our Tier 2, our traffic safety program, all of our expenditures are on track there as well. So this, and capital most of it has been purchased, so they're on track there.
Ashley, on the court costs, late fees court costs.
Yes, ma'am.
Year to date is 155, 165, and we budgeted 20,000.
Yes.
So, and that's a line item that we get to keep, right? Or we don't
correct.
have to share with the state or anything.
Right. That's everything except for the actual tickets of every other fee.
And then, so what did we budget for next year based on what we're seeing this year as far as the trend?
Was it 180? Yeah, we definitely bumped that up to, I think it was 180,000.
Okay.
So just to kind of get
Okay.
that back
And
on
so
track.
the bottom line, total Tier 2, the 429,155,
Yes, ma'am.
that's what we split with the state.
No, ma'am. So
Okay. What do we split with the state?
that would be our revenues less everything we spend in Tier 1. So whatever
Oh,
our
Tier
total.
1, that's right. That's
Right.
the safety program.
Yes, yeah, we
Okay,
can, we
so the
use up
nine-
all we can in Tier 1. Whatever is left over gets split with the state.
So the 92377?
That's the total that we
Uh-huh.
spent out of out of our Tier 1, out of all the administrative costs of the program. Whatever is left over from our revenues minus our Tier 1 gets
That's
split
what-
with the state.
Okay, so
and
we
then-
have to minus it.
Right,
Okay,
and everything we
gotcha.
keep stays down here in Tier 2 for our traffic safety program and has to be used for traffic safety related items.
Very good. Thanks for that clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
Always trying to keep it straight.
Thank
Thank you.
Right, and then we do pay them once at the end of the fiscal year. So once
Right.
everything is all figured out, all reported to them, we pay them.
Okay.
Okay. And finally, our impound lot. Our impound lot fees are at about 83% of budget, and our auctions are at 95. I don't think there is a determined date for the next auction yet. From last I heard, there may or may not be one this fiscal year, but the revenues in that fund are looking okay as well. And then our expenditures are also on track. So.
Okay.
And just a reminder that this and all other financial reports can be found on our website at Departments, Finance, Financial Transparency.
Okay. Any other questions for Ms. Wayman? Well, before you leave, we want to, I don't know if you all know, but we want to say the best of luck to Ashley Wayman. She is leaving our fair city, and she's going to Rolling Wood.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, a town of 1,400?
Yes,
1,400, and she's
people.
going to be a city secretary. And so we thank you for your great work that you've done here for us in Leon Valley, as well as the 4th of July celebration. You did an excellent job, and we're going to miss you, but we'll stay in touch.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. I do want to express just how grateful I am for the opportunity to serve the city of Leon Valley the last 3 years. It's been a wonderful experience, and I've just really enjoyed the people I got to work with and everything. So thank you all so much.
But you're switching from finance to city secretary, I know.
Yep.
Sonda will be a great mentor,
Oh,
for
I
sure.
I absolutely know. I always have
Yes.
people I can reach out to here at the city. So
Right.
thank you
Well,
all so
the
much.
best of luck to you.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is the city manager's report.
There's nothing to add on the city manager's report, only a correction for the trash and treasure sale. Ms. Jonas pointed out that it's not from 10 to 11, it's from 9 to 2. And as you all know, the city manager's report is located outside and on the city's website.
Okay. I just wanted to add, if the in-kind grant is approved tonight for the Audie L. Murphy Post 336 September 11th event, which is on September the 8th, that would be included, I believe, and it's open to the public. Is that right, Mr. Garrity? I just wanted to let everyone know that you're invited to the annual ceremony. This has been 10 years, and it's from 4 to 9 at the conference center. And do they need to RSVP? If 6. Yes, sir. Uh-huh. 6 to 9. Very good. I just wanted to bring that to the citizens' attention as well. So, okay, thank you. Just wanted to put a plug in there. Okay. Moving then to citizens be heard. Is there anyone that would like to address the council? Thank you, Spencer. Good to see you. And if you'll state your name and where you live, please.
Spencer Spriesterbach, resident of Leon Valley, 6621 Countess Adria, 78238.
Great.
And I'm the current post commander of Audie L. Murphy, post number 336. Mayor Riley, distinguished members of the City Council and fellow citizens of Leon Valley, the American Legion, Audie L. Murphy, post number 336, and the City of Leon Valley have enjoyed a community partnership for over 10 years. Ever since the dying post was brought into this area by local businessman, former city council member, and former mayor pro tem Walter Garrity. Since the partnership began, the City of Leon Valley and Post 336 have grown together. We're now the largest post in District 20, going from 12 members 10 years ago to up to close to 1,000 now. We've led the 4th of July parade for the City of Leon Valley. We've presented colors at the public library expansion, and we helped with the training and the formation of the Leon Valley Fire Department Color Guard. We still meet at Leon Valley Elementary School throughout the school year, and we do a teacher appreciation breakfast every year for them in February. Along with supporting the Veterans Day programs, we conduct flag education at the elementary school. Our membership, along with the cities, conducted roadway cleanups of Audiel Murphy Memorial Parkway just as recent as April, and we are planning another one for Saturday, October the 26th. We also donate annually to the Leon Valley Police Department Blue Santa program. In keeping with our partnership and our tradition, we respectfully request to waive the fee for the Leon Valley Conference Center for our 9/11 Remembrance Ceremony and the installation of our post officers on Sunday, 8 September. The time is 4 o'clock for the setup, but the event will start at 6 p.m. The event's open to the public. And again, we must never forget, thank you for your time and consideration for God and country.
Thank you very much. Appreciate those words. Okay. Anyone else like to address the council at this time? Please come forward. Yes, Mr. Garrity, good evening and welcome.
Walter Garrity, private citizen, 7315 Ellerby Point here in Leon Valley. First, I'll address the issues of the right to speak for 3 minutes or 5 minutes. I was on city council, and I know that some of the people in that get up here, they have an agenda, a diatribe, they have a lot of things to say. But if you give them at least 3 minutes, and I'm glad that you approved the 3 minutes and then the 5 minutes at the end, the 3 minutes is going to allow the people to say and express their thoughts, because you're not going to be a clock watcher. I know when I had presentations before, I was looking at the clock and I'm thinking, hey, I have 6 more things to do and I have 20 seconds to do it. But that's very good that was maintained at 3 minutes, because we are an open city. The reason that Leon Valley was formed is because we didn't want to be, I don't know if this is going to go public, but we didn't want to be swallowed up by San Antonio. Mm-hmm. Therefore, we're unique. Leon Valley was so big, San Antonio had to grow around us. Think about that. That's a new concept. But, so I'm proud to be here in Leon Valley. We're glad with the partnership formed with the American Legion and the Auxiliary and the Sons of the American Legion Riders. Any community that has a American Legion post, and as you know, Audie L. Murphy, the L stands for Leon. So somebody above already picked us here to be here in a footprint here in Leon Valley. Audie Leon Murphy, American Legion Post 336, and I'm very glad, and please find in your hearts to approve this, the waiver of the fees. We do a lot of things in the community, and we look forward to doing things. And we are the envy of the state of Texas. We've been actually called the poster post for the state of Texas. Out of 462 posts in Texas, we're the 3rd largest ones. And we just posted the colors last Friday at the San Antonio Missions baseball game. We've presented before at the San Antonio Spurs basketball game. We're way out there in the community, and look for us on the Veterans Day parade too. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Garrity. Do appreciate your service and all of y'all who have served so valiantly and bravely. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Seeing no one else, then we'll move to announcements by the mayor and council members. Ms. Charles, do you have any announcements this evening?
I'll be attending, representing the mayor and the city tomorrow, Thursday, the Drill Sergeant of the Year at Fort Sam. I'm excited about that because I'm retired Army, so I should fit right in. I'm looking forward to it. I just want everyone to know that the hearing was a grueling experience for all of us. And I was in the military, and we were evaluated on our courage, duty, honor, respect, and integrity. And that's what I maintained all through I had that before I went into the military, and that's why it wasn't hard for me to get along in the military. I've had that in my civilian jobs since, and I also had that as my responsibility in the council. And so I went by those principles in everything that I do for the council, and I hope that we all begin to do this kind of courage, duty, honor, and respect and integrity for the city.
Thank you. Ms. Rodriguez?
Just wanted to say thank you for everybody who came out tonight. And of course, definitely thank you to our local post for everything you've done and for accepting me as a family member with a son in the military. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Alcacer?
Yes, Mayor, I would like to just give a shout out to our city staff with a reminder to our citizenry that they're the backbone of our city. They're what makes the city be what it is today, get us through every single thing. And I particularly support the teamwork that they've shown in the last couple of months. And thank you, everybody, for being here. And please be kind to one another and smile more. There are not too many smiles out there, but they're really nice. Everybody looks beautiful when they smile.
Richard.
Thank you. Councilor Hody?
No more Aggie jokes. And I wanted to thank y'all again for your trust in me, even if you didn't necessarily think that I should be here, but I'm going to try to change your minds. I, too, wanted to follow what Councilor Alcacer said about the city staff, specifically Sandra and Crystal, who were at all these meetings trying to get the audiovisual stuff. Is that still the correct terminology? You can tell how old I am now. Working, and I was amazed at how smoothly that portion of the events occurred. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor Bradshaw?
I would also like to thank all the members of the American Legion Post 336 for coming tonight, and all the other citizens that are attending. And Mayor, do we need to I would like to recommend that we put on the next agenda the waiving the fee for the conference center on the 9/11 memorial. Is that?
It's on this one.
Oh, I didn't even see. I didn't see this.
It's on the consent agenda.
Great. Then.
Right.
Thank you all.
Okay. Thank you. I just had a few announcements. Welcome to Councilor Hody. Thank you for, and I know you'll serve very well with integrity and thank you. I had a phone call from Commissioner Justin Rodriguez last week, and he it was just out of the clear blue, and he asked, they're putting their budget together. This is the Bexar County Commissioners Court. And he said, Mayor, how can we help you with some of your flooding issues? So I immediately called Melinda. And so she called him, and he called me back to say, it looks like it's going to be the Seneca West project, is what he told me. And he called me back on Friday, I think, of last week. So I thought that was really great. And I don't know how many of you know, but Leon Valley is represented by 2 commissioners. Most of our city is in Precinct 2, but if you live to the east of Evers, then you're in Precinct 3, and that's Kevin Wolf's. So he was, just saying that's very unusual that, we have 2 commissioners for Leon Valley. But anyway, he pointed that out. He's one of your board members? American Legion. Great. And then also he did say, do you remember last meeting we voted to eliminate John Marshall High School and Leon Valley Elementary from the voting? Well, he said that the commissioners have decided to keep all of the polling places in place for this coming November election. So all 287 polling sites will remain the same. There'll be no changes. I also wanted to thank Maribel for organizing our ribbon cutting last Saturday at 210 Tacos. Thought it was a great turnout and good food. Just wanted to ask everyone to be very, very aware on Monday. School starts for Northside, so we're going to have all the kiddos out. And just please use special care when you drive, and no texting, no speeding, and that good stuff. And then the pool hours. Melinda, do we have the remaining pool hours for the two pools? I thought this week they were closed on Saturday. This is at Forest Oak, but they were open on Sunday. So I was just wondering if you could clarify, are they closed for good, or are they going to be open up on?
No, they'll still be open. Their last day, is the day after Labor Day.
Okay, but are they going to be closed next week when school starts?
I'm not sure. I'll have to check for you and get back with you.
All right. Just wanted to. Okay. I think that's it. All righty. Appreciate it. And again, thank you, American Legion Post 336, for being here. We really appreciate it. All right. Then moving then to the consent agenda, item 6, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4, which includes the in-kind grant by the American Legion Post 336. Any council member wish to pull any item for discussion? And if not, may I please have a motion and a second to approve?
I move that we approve consent agenda 6, 1, 2, 3, and 4 as presented.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilor Alcacer and a second by Councilor Charles to approve consent agenda items 6.1, 2, 3, and 4 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion does carry. So congratulations, 336. We're glad we could help you on the waiver of those fees. Okay, excellent. Moving then to agenda item number 7, ordinances. This is our second read, and we will need a vote on 7.1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And Ms. Postley, if you'll please read 7.1.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley, Texas, City Council granting a specific use permit for a kennel at 6703 Poss Road, more specifically described as Lot 76, Block 3, Leon Valley Addition, Greenway Park Subdivision, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Any updated information, Mr. Milan?
Mayor and Council, no updated information.
Okay. Any questions on this particular agenda item? We did read it the last time, and if not, may I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilor Charles and a second by Councilor Rodriguez to approve ordinance number 7.1 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Moving then to ordinance number 7.2. Ms. Postley, if you'll please read that ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley, Texas, City Council granting a specific use permit for entertainment indoor use at 5720 Evers Road, more specifically described as Lot 3, Block 1, Valley Park Subdivision, the specific use permit being specifically limited to the tenant suite identified as 6128 Wurzbach Road, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Any updated information on this one?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Milan. And what is the pleasure of the council on 7.2?
I'll make a motion to pass 7.2.
Okay.
I second.
We have a motion by Councilor Bradshaw and a second by Councilor Alcacer to approve ordinance 7.2 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Moving then to ordinance number 7.3. Ms. Postley, if you'll please read that ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley, Texas, City Council granting a specific use permit for outside storage at 6217 Grissom Road and 6645 Poss Road and 6655 Poss Road, more specifically described as lots 63, 64, and 65, Block 3, Leon Valley Addition, Greenway Park Subdivision, providing for a repealer and severability and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Any updated information on
No,
this
ma'am.
one? Okay, thank you.
I move that we approve 7.3 as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilor Alcacer and a second by Councilor Rodriguez to approve ordinance number 7.3 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Moving then to agenda item 7.4. Ms. Bosley, if you'll please read that ordinance.
An ordinance establishing and adopting for the purpose of taxation the calendar year levying a tax of 0.475377 for maintenance and operations and 0.068213 for interest and sinking fund for a total tax rate of 0.543590 on all property subject to taxation and situated in the city of Leon Valley, Texas, on first day of January 2019, establishing the rate of said levy, determining due date, delinquent date, interest rates, and delinquencies, and for penalties and delinquencies, and determining and enacting other matters pertinent, necessary, and incident to the subject, and providing for a savings clause.
Okay. It's a mouthful, but it needs to happen. Okay.
Nothing's changed.
Ms. Wallace, nothing has changed, and we do need
Yes, ma'am.
a motion to be read like this. Mr. Bradshaw, you want to read it, and then we'll have as the first motion, and then a second?
I move to adopt the 2019 property tax rate of 0.543590, which is 0.002287 lower than last year's tax rate of 0.545877. The maintenance and operation tax rate portion being 0.475377, and the interest and sinking tax rate portion being 0.068213, for a total tax rate of 0.543590.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion on the tax rate adoption as read by Mr. Bradshaw and seconded by Councilor Rodriguez. Ms. Bosley, if you'll please call the roll.
Councilor Charles?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilor Alcacer?
Yes.
Councilor Hody?
Yes.
And Councilor Bradshaw.
Yes.
The tax rate adoption passes unanimously. Thank you so much again, Vicki and Ashley and all of the directors and the city manager for working on a budget that we got completed pretty early. What is today? August 20th. That's really great. So thank you so much. Really appreciate all your efforts. All right. Moving then to agenda item 7.5. Ms. Bosley, if you'll please read that ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley, Texas City Council accepting the Southwest Texas Regional Advisory Council Trauma System Grant in the amount of $3,131, amending the general fund budget of the City of Leon Valley municipal budget for the fiscal year 2018-2019 in the amount of $3,131 to provide funding for the Leon Valley Fire Department to purchase medical supplies and equipment used for providing emergency medical care in Leon Valley, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Chief, good evening.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is the second read for the receipt of a grant. This money it comes from your telephone 911 bill and some trauma service district money. We apply for it every year. This is the second read. We actually receive this money before we buy anything. We don't know what it's going to be every year, but we take it and we use it to further EMS with it.
Very good. Thank you.
That's all it is.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your work on this, always looking for grants to help the fire department. So what is the pleasure of the council on agenda item 7.5?
I move that we approve 7.5 and like the term that the chief put in, that we got a windfall.
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion by Councilor Alcacer and a second by Councilor Bradshaw to approve ordinance number 7.5 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Thank you. Thank you, Chief. All right, moving then to regular agenda item 8.1, which is a first read. Ms. Bosley, if you'll please read that ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley, Texas City Council authorizing the amendment of the general fund budget for fiscal year 2018-2019 in the amount of $4,800 to provide proper funding, providing for repealer, providing funding for. Is there something missing?
Supplies?
Okay, well, there's supplies, I'm sorry, the word is missing. Providing for repeal or severability and savings clauses and providing for an effective date.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you,
Good
Mayor and
evening.
Council.
Melinda Moritz, our Public Works Director, we appreciate you being here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. It is to fund the purchase of equipment and supplies for future Earthwise Living Day events. At the 2019 Earthwise Living Day event, the committee collected $4,605 from booth rentals and from sponsorships. In addition, after some expenses, they had some remaining funds from what had been budgeted. The committee would like to use that money to purchase a portable amplifier, wireless microphones, insulated tote bags, and clear tarps for the entrance to the community center, and then some packaged sustainable dinnerware. Those were sold also at last year's event, and they were very popular. $2,700 is placed in each fiscal year budget to fund this event. The committee solicits sponsorships and rents booths to assure that this event is self-sustaining. So after everything was said and done this year, we came out with $203.95 left. And there's the breakdown of where we got our revenue from. So sponsors were $3,900, vendors were $705, and then of course we have our fund balance of $203.95. So the total left is $48.08 95. And this is what they'd like to purchase. And so it'll leave $8.95 left. Woohoo!
Would you tell Yvonne she did a great job?
Okay.
on
Of course,
that.
we'll take the $8.95 too.
That's right.
You know.
There you go.
And so we recommend that the City Council authorize the budget adjustment in the amount of $4,800 from the general fund for the purchase of this the equipment and the supplies for future Earthwise Living Day events. Does anybody have any questions?
Okay. Yes, Councilor Alcazar.
I don't really have a question, but a comment. I think the Earthwise Living Committee and all those who volunteered and helped with it should be commended. I think they're the only committee that outdoes their budget by income. So it's really wonderful to see because of the what the committee and what the whole idea does for our city.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Councilor
Ms.
Rodriguez.
Morris, just a quick question. About how many people attend?
Oh, man.
Out of curiosity.
It's got to be over 200. I mean, it's steady busy all day long there. It's a great event.
Thank you.
I think it's between
5.
600 to 800 because Karen Seifert is in the audience and she has organized the children. So we
Yes.
learned a long time ago that when you bring in the children, then you bring in their parents. And so that's why we've had such a increase in our attendance, and I thank her for that. Thank you so much. So 600 to 800, but again, it's up
steady,
and down.
all
It's
day
very
long.
steady, and I think being around 30 years helps too.
That too.
Yeah, so, okay. If there's no other questions, then we will have the second read at the next city council meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
you.
You bet. Really appreciate it. And thank Yvonne for doing this because I know she was getting the numbers and stuff. Okay, moving then to agenda item number 9, citizens to be heard. Are there any citizens remaining in our chambers that would like to address the council? Please come forward. Okay, seeing no one, then we will move to adjourn if there's no objection at approximately 7:58. All right. Good evening, and we'll see you, the next meeting is September the 3rd.